You're watching WAFB's streaming newscast, live and local, with Dion Guillory. This is 9 News at 5:30.
We begin streaming tonight with the latest in Minnesota. Officials there saying the Trump administration has until Monday to respond to their request for a temporary injunction of ICE activity. A U.S. district judge saying she will not block ICE action in the state for now. Minnesota and the Twin Cities suing the Trump administration. They argue the federal government is taking away constitutional state powers. They also say ICE agents are using excessive force. The judge there saying not imposing a preliminary injunction is not a prejudgment. Lana Zach continues our coverage.
With confrontations between protesters and ICE agents in Minneapolis showing no signs of slowing down, President Trump is threatening to send in the military, posting on social media that he may invoke the Insurrection Act to stop what he claims are professional agitators and insurrectionists.
We see an act from 1807 that gives the president extraordinary power. Frankly, we don't have a lot of precedent to indicate that there are significant checks either from Congress or the judicial branch to second guess the president.
Trump's post comes one day after an ICE officer shot Julio Cesar Solaceles, a Venezuelan migrant, in the leg. According to DHS, the officer acted in self-defense following an attack by the man and 2 other people using a snow shovel and broom.
Our agent is beat up, he's bruised, he's injured, he's getting treatment, and we're thankful that he made it out alive.
There has been a nonstop parade of tributes here, but the situation is untenable. Governor Walz making a direct appeal to the president on X, writing, "Let's bring the temperature down." Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey urged residents to protest peacefully and said the presence of immigration officers, now around 3,000, is what's driving the turmoil.
And for anyone that is taking the bait tonight, stop. We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says there are no plans to pull ICE out of the city. Lana Zach, CBS News, Minneapolis.
Breaking tonight, the Mississippi State Board of Education has taken control of the Wilkinson County School District. State officials say the district has serious academic deficiencies. It's been F-rated for 2 consecutive years, making it the state's lowest performing district. Additional problems include a lack of financial audit since June 2022 and test security violations. Lee Coates has been appointed as the interim superintendent. Wilkinson County is now the 6th district in Mississippi to be designated as a, quote, district of transformation. The U.S. seizing another oil tanker in the Caribbean Sea. This marks the 6th such seizure since December. This one is named Veronica. The military has been taking a hard stance on controlling the flow of oil to and from Venezuela. A Trump administration saying that the U.S. completed its first sale of Venezuelan oil valued at $500 million. Additional sales of oil are expected in the coming days and weeks. This comes in the wake of the U.S. operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro earlier this month. The president saying the industry would invest at least $100 billion to rebuild Venezuela's energy sector. Oil industry leaders did not commit to any investments. Now, the Trump administration is getting ready to use private military contractors to secure energy and oil assets in Venezuela. Now, that's according to 2 sources who are familiar with the situation. They add that this action is being taken as opposed to deploying U.S. troops to the country. President Trump has not positively ruled out having U.S. military presence there, but separate sources close to him say he is leery about doing so, especially for an extended period of time. The Pentagon declined to comment on the matter. President Trump did meet with the Venezuelan opposition leader who has a claim to be the rightful leader of the country, but the U.S. has been backing the former vice president of captured leader Nicolas Maduro. Erica Brown breaking it all down for us.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado arrived at the White House Thursday for a meeting with President Trump.
I know the president was looking forward to this meeting, and he's was expecting it to be a good and positive discussion with Ms. Machado, who is really a remarkable and brave voice for many of the people of Venezuela.
Machado was in exile from her home country, and her efforts to promote democracy in Venezuela won her the Nobel Peace Prize. But Machado told CBS News earlier this month that Delcy Rodriguez, who became Venezuela's acting leader after the capture of Nicolas Maduro, could not be trusted.
She has been the architect, one of the main architects and director of the torture centers in Venezuela, of repression towards our innocent people.
President Trump has called Rodriguez a, quote, wonderful person, and the administration has backed her leadership since Maduro's ouster.
They have been extremely cooperative. They have thus far met all of the demands and requests of the United States and of the president.
One of those demands was the sale of Venezuelan oil to stabilize the country. Thursday, U.S. forces seized another oil tanker linked to Venezuela that it says was illegally shipping sanctioned oil.
We are watching the entire Shadow Fleet and how they're moving. I'm very proud of our Coast Guard, how they've partnered with the Department of War to do unprecedented actions.
This is the sixth tanker the U.S. has seized since the raid and capture of Maduro. Erica Brown, CBS News, Washington.
A prominent pro-Palestine activist could face rearrest. That's according to the New York Times. It reports an appeals court has ruled a lower court judge lacked the authority to release Mahmoud Khalil. The panel says the Columbia University graduate's case should have gone to an immigration court. Khalil is a legal U.S. resident whose wife and child are Americans. The Trump administration claims Khalil's activism harms U.S. foreign policy. The defense says he has freedom of speech under the Constitution. Khalil is suing the Trump administration over his previous 104-day detention. A construction crane working on an elevated highway project outside Bangkok fell into the road below, killing 2 people. The incident comes a day after at least 32 people were killed and dozens more injured when a separate construction crane fell onto a moving train. That crane was being used as part of a Chinese high-speed rail project. A huge multi-vehicle pileup in Elkhart County left several injured and forced the closure of Indiana toll roads for hours. Take a look at this. A preliminary investigation found the initial collision led to a series of crashes in that area, blocking all the lanes that were going east. The video you see is showing some of the destruction from the bridge that is in that area. Now, in an update, a sergeant who is with the Indiana State Patrol says that the toll road had opened after, quote, massive undertaking. Unemployment reaching its lowest level in 2 years last week. The Labor Department reporting an estimated 198,000 initial unemployment claims for the week. That's the first time it's dipped below 200,000 in 2 years. Initial claims are widely considered a proxy for layoff activity. So if you look at continuing unemployment claims, those numbers tell a slightly different story. They fell by 19,000 to about 1.9 million for the week ending January 3rd, but that comes after months of hitting 4-year highs. Mortgage rates falling to their lowest level in more than 3 years. The last time home borrowing rates were this low was September 2022. In addition, there are signs the so-called lock-in effect has started to ease. For years, homeowners have been reluctant to sell and give up their ultra-low mortgage rates secured early in the pandemic. But according to Realtor.com, the share of homeowners with mortgage rates above 6% has now surpassed the share with rates below 3%. Tonight, federal prosecutors announcing criminal charges against 26 people, including former college basketball players, for allegedly rigging games over a span of 3 years. UNO, Nicholls State, Northwestern State, and Tulane are the Louisiana schools named in the indictment. Gwen Baumgartner reports.
The U.S. Attorney's Office in eastern Pennsylvania announced charges Thursday against dozens of people they accused of rigging or trying to rig more than 29 NCAA basketball games, including this February 2024 matchup between SUNY Buffalo and Western Michigan.
We allege an extensive international criminal conspiracy.
Prosecutors say former NBA player Antonio Blakeney and 2 fixers started a point-shaving conspiracy in China in 2023 before expanding to the NCAA, where more than 39 players took part.
They would bribe said player to deliberately underperform so that his team would lose by more than they were favored to. They would bet for them to not cover the point spread.
According to the indictment, the bribes usually range from $10,000 to $30,000 per game, spanning playoff and championship games, with the last game just over a year ago.
The crimes alleged in today's indictment are not victimless. This was a calculated scheme designed to manipulate outcomes, deceive fans, corrupt athletes, and undermine credibility.
Prosecutors say players on 17 different Division I men's basketball teams were involved, including from Tulane, LaSalle, and DePaul. This is the latest betting scandal to rock the sports world. In October, the FBI announced the arrests of dozens of people, including current NBA players and a coach in connection to alleged gambling schemes. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
New tonight, measles cases are continuing to climb in the United States. The CDC reporting 171 new cases so far this year across 9 states. In South Carolina, measles cases are spreading rapidly. Health officials confirmed 124 new cases since last Friday, bringing the statewide total to 434.
What people don't realize is that initial infection with measles may not be that severe, but it wipes out the kid's immune system, immune memory, and it can take a couple years to build back.
Gotcha.
So it leaves the infant or the child susceptible to infections like pneumonia, diarrheal illness, and so on. And that's actually half of the deaths related to measles.
The CDC recommends children receive the first dose of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine between the ages of 12 to 15 months, and the second dose between 4 and 6 years old. 2 doses provides 97% effectiveness against the highly infectious disease. Also developing tonight, the Centers for Disease Control warning of a multi-state outbreak of salmonella infections linked to a super green supplement. Health officials in several states are collecting information on Live It Up Super Green Supplement Powder. Data so far shows the product may be contaminated with salmonella. The CDC says at least 45 people have gotten sick in 21 states. No deaths have been reported. Officials say if you have this supplement powder, either throw it out or return it to the store. Well, the dropping temperatures can have a major impact on anyone's body, but for the millions of migraine sufferers in the U.S., the cold can also trigger an attack. Mandy Gaither explains why winter weather can bring on a migraine and how to help prevent an attack when it's cold outside.
Extreme cold, changes in barometric pressure, and sudden weather shifts can create a perfect storm for those who suffer from migraines.
For a lot of people, that is a major trigger.
Dr. Ahmad Estamalik with Cleveland Clinic says winter weather can trigger blood vessels in the brain to dilate, causing inflammation and lead to sinus pressure. Both can increase the number of migraines. Avoiding those attacks starts with being aware of what typically sparks them, like certain foods, caffeine, stress, and sleep issues.
Those who have migraines know what they can do generally to minimize triggers.
Estamalik says to also avoid the extreme weather as much as possible. Stay inside when you can. Make sure you're hydrated. And he says not to load up on over-the-counter painkillers.
Too much over-the-counter painkillers for migraine patients can have a rebound effect. So suddenly they get into what we call rebound headaches. So typically we recommend no more than 2 to 3 times a week, and then really trying to minimize the other factors.
And while you can't change the weather, you can be prepared, Estamalik says, to have rescue and abortive medications on hand in case they're needed when air pressure changes. Finally, if you can't find symptom relief, see a doctor.
There are a lot of ways to deal with, that sudden change in headache frequency. And that's where I think patients should reach out to their healthcare provider for that.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A Senate committee led by Republican Ted Cruz hearing from experts on the adverse effects of excessive screen time for children impacting their well-being and development. They testified that parents who don't set screen time limits aren't the only ones contributing to the problem, citing research showing that the technology schools are incorporating for learning may actually be detrimental.
Kids need time to be kids, to experience the real world, not to get lost in a virtual one.
Once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly.
Cruz and Democratic Senator Brian Schatz also reintroduced legislation to help protect kids from the harmful impacts of social media. The Kids Off Social Media Act would set a minimum age to use social media platforms at 13 and prevent social media companies from using algorithms to feed addictive content to users under the age of 17. When we come back, Henry Blakes is standing by with the wild temperature swings and even a slight chance of snow flurries.